Is Marjorie Harvey actually the fashionista we know, or is there a hazier story taking cover behind the marvelousness and excitement? How are b-ball players street pharmacists and a famous top dog engaged with her adoration life? And where does the darling humorist Steve Harvey fit in all of this? Don't miss this noteworthy excursion as Tasha Case spills the tea on Marjorie's charming past. I didn't have such a lot of sensational stuff happening with Marjorie and Steve Harvey. Let me let you know this. Hey everybody, I'm Leah. And today we discuss the enthralling saga of Marjorie Harvey. How about we disentangle her excessive way of life, loaded up with style distinction and sentiment? How did this infamous fashionista progress from the arms of one medication master to another, just to wind up wedded to the fruitful Steve Harvey? And what might be said about her standing as a finest gold digger, exploring through a line of persuasive men? We'll likewise examine her disputable associations, from her nearby connections to a striking b-ball player to being the mother of a kid with her darling's cousin, all while exploring a hurricane of reports and shameful, and giving it to her better half Dania before we take a gander at Tasha's perspective on Marjorie. How about we find out where everything started? Marjorie, a youthful and energetic 18-year-old, encountered Jim, a man who had a significant age contrast of 14 years anyway. Little did Marjorie had any idea about that. Jim was at that point bound in blessed marriage. Their underlying association was attractive and energized by a flood of extreme feelings. Marjorie took a strong action. She purposely quit taking her contraception pills, wanting to influence Jim into leaving his flow spouse. Her rash choice brought about a startling result. Marjorie wound up expecting a kid as destiny would have it. Jim surrendered to the hurricane of feelings and chosen to leave his better half, wedding Marjorie following 3 years of dating. Their sentiment, which enveloped both the pre- and post-conjugal stages, traversed a sum of 7 momentous years. All through their association, they encountered their reasonable portion of highs and lows, with unanticipated difficulties sneaking around the bend. Goodness man, don't keep on. You realize I had Townsend. Now you know, since we have a significant conversation before in an astounding bit of occasions. Jin's past returned to cause major problems for him when he confronted legitimate repercussions during a noteworthy meeting with Tasha's stunning subtleties arose, turning the account on its head. Townsend unflinchingly pointed an accusatory finger at Marjorie, guaranteeing she had a critical influence in a famous medication cartel. A long ways from the picture Steve had painted of her. As per Townsend, Marjorie enthusiastically embraced the job of belief sidekick, effectively taking part in the stealthy universe of opiates dealing. These frightening disclosures offered a simple look into the impending book by Jim named Snakes in the Nursery, promising to divulge the untold insights of his life as expectation works for the arrival of Jim's book perusers. Anxiously anticipate the openness of Marjorie's supposed contribution in chronic drug use during their wild relationship. Hypotheses loom in regards to any potential associations with a strange figure named Darnell. Anything insider facts exist in the pages. One thing is sure, Jim's disclosures will without a doubt light a tempest of contention inside the Harvey family. Currently, we should jump once more into the holding show that unfurled during that period. The FBI and DEA ended up involved in an examination focusing on Marjorie, her better half, and the famous medication ruler, Jim Townsend, had proactively had to deal with penalties connected with an endeavored acquisition of 40 kilograms of cocaine anyway. When specialists uncovered Marjorie's potential inclusion, Jim settled on a pivotal choice. Assuming the part of Romeo, he hammered out an agreement with the DEA, accepting any penalty, while arguing for Marjorie's exclusion, much to his dismay that years after the fact he would come to lament his penance. In spite of being at first condemned to life detainment, he wound up serving just 26 years at last, getting an exculpation from President Barack Obama. Definitely, and this was finished under Obama. Right inside the unpredictable snare of murmurs and disguised insights an entrancing story arose, revealing insight into Marjorie's complex trap of abundance, with Jim's shipping charges another section unfurled, disclosing a secret goldmine of resources abandoned by Jim Townsend. Yes, you heard it right. Jim was accepted to have left Marjorie with a grouping of important belongings. These incorporated a duplex, a rambling 16-unit apartment building, and a dynamic dance club. Needing some repair, sadly the club was ultimately seized, and presently enter Todd Dave, a magnetic b-ball player whose association in Marjorie's life touched off a tempest of tales and hypothesis. Murmurs coursed proposing a heartfelt association among Marjorie and Todd, with electrifying cases that cash had an impact in Marjorie's surreptitious undertaking to recapture control of her club. The real essence of these claims remains covered in secret as the cryptic dance between influence riches and what keeps on enamoring those entrapped by Marjorie's hypnotizing past. It is commonly realized that Todd Dave gave the assets to recover the club and delivered it back to Marjorie anyway. The story goes off in a strange direction as Marjorie continues on toward another old flame, Giant's cousin, Darnell. Together, they have a girl named Lori. Shockwaves resound through the local area after finding that Darnell also had connections to the medication exchange as Townsend's cousin. This disclosure raises doubts inside the FBI, stirring up misgivings about Marjorie's supposed association. A few people question whether Marjorie assumed a part in the captures of both her accomplices, prompting theory that she may be helping out specialists. This discernment has field discussions and reports, with some contending that Marjorie ought to be appreciative to Jim for saving her from more profound ensnarement in the medication business. Others fight that given her youthful age of 18 at the time, it is unrealistic that she was profoundly involved and advocate for her opportunity. Alternately, there are the individuals who accept that equity requests. She confronted the results of her activities, locked away behind cool, unforgiving bars. Jim's scorn for Marjorie was obvious in a meeting with Tasha K, lighting clashing feelings among allies. Reality stays tricky, driving the general population to contemplate the puzzling idea of Marjorie's past and the intricate snare of decisions she made. Without a doubt, the getting through murmurs encompassing Marjorie's complex job as a craftiness gold digger, shrewdly moving her direction through a progression of powerful men, would not blur at first. She was connected to the scandalous medication top dog Jim Townsend, purportedly enjoying an existence of plushness showered with excessive gifts. Anyway, Marjorie's craving for abundance didn't end there. She before long wound up entering the bounds of marriage with one more princely medication ruler, helpfully enough Jim's own personal cousin, who likewise pulled out all the stops in giving her wealth. And presently, in a captivating spot of destiny, she winds up in the arms of, in all honesty, the eminent Steve Harvey, a man celebrated for his accomplishments and sumptuous way of life. As the murmurs persevere, the copying question waits: is Marjorie Harvey genuinely a gold digger? Or does her story include further intricacies than meets the eye in his astounding new development? Jim was stood up to with a similar inquiry during a meeting with Tasha K concerning whether he accepted Marjorie had the qualities of a gold digger. To the awe of numerous, he answered certifiably, apparently validating the long-held premonitions encompassing Marjorie's inspirations. This broadcast depiction is completely misleading. I know something else altogether close by: her significant other and their distinguished circle of VIP colleagues. Marjorie has dressed probably the greatest names in the domain of diversion through her esteemed design embellishment and way of life venture. The woman loves culture. She makes an assortment of wonderful and refined contributions, customized for knowing ladies. Let us not fail to remember the stunning extent of Steve Harvey's total assets, which outperforms the amazing amount of $50 million. During a meeting, Townsend reviewed an episode, including Steve Harvey and Jason, where the young man unequivocally expressed that Steve was not his dad. He told Steve Harvey, "One day you're not my dad, Jimmy Townsend." Is my dad Townsend uncovered to Tasha Key hearing this remark? Steve turned out to be to some degree disturbed, and answered Jason saying, "I love your mom, so I need to cherish you. Where's that punk-ass daddy of yours, considering what is going on?" Townsend proceeded with, "I couldn't say whether it was from frailty, or what he a multi-mogul. I ain't no one you ain't got to stress over me." In a similar meeting, Townsend referenced a discussion he had with his previous darling only 3 days before she strolled down the path to wed Steve Harvey. She said, "Jimmy," she said, "oh well." She said, "Jimmy, you understand what Steve sees so much." Moreover, Townsend communicated his conviction that Marjorie is a manipulative person who knows how to play the game. This acknowledgement adds weight to the questions and reports encompassing Marjorie Harvey prominently. Townsend attacks Steve Harvey, which isn't shocking given the allegations he has made against Marjorie. One thing is sure, Steve Harvey might have had an impact in introducing a luxurious and truly flawless presence on TV, yet reality may be a long way from it. Murmurs regarding Steve's stress relationship with his natural youngsters Flo causing serious qualms about his believability as a family man, despite the fact that he has embraced Marjorie's youngsters and seems, by all accounts, to be an ideal mentor to them. His own organic children have been denied of that fatherly love of since early on. Steve is a similar individual who deserted them in quest for his fantasies. To reveal insight into this muddled unique, we should hear from Steve's oldest child, Roderick, who shared his.